Chris Tighe is a former police officer and a retired lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy. During his time in the Navy, Chris made 5 deployments overseas, including a deployment with the U.S. Army Green Berets to Afghanistan. It was in Afghanistan where Chris was first exposed to construction management. One of his collateral duties was to oversee the construction of an operations center at a forward operating base. Since his time in Afghanistan, Chris continued to develop his skills in leadership. After several years in the workforce, Chris and his wife Linda decided to move to a new state and start a property management company. With Chris's background in construction management, they created a separate construction company that rapidly grew in the first 3 years. Chris is now the owner and CEO of a property management company and a construction company. Both companies currently operate out of Pierce County, Washington, and Houston, Texas, with plans to expand into the Pensacola market. Chris holds a bachelor's degree in Chinese Mandarin and a master's degree in global leadership. He has been married to his wife Linda for 18 years. They currently reside in Houston, Texas with their 2 boys, Jonah and Connor.
Hey, Chris, thank you for being here in the podcast. It's just like it's amazing you being a guest here. I think we will have a lot to learn from you. So,
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
how are you today?
I'm doing great. Doing great. It's been a good morning, and I know it's going to be a great day. I got some meetings lined up with some pretty cool people. I'm meeting Joni this afternoon and her team. So, yeah, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah, I bet that. Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to start with all the questions and everything,
Yeah.
from the bio, we know that you're a veteran.
Yeah.
So it's just like, when did you know you were an entrepreneur and want to open a business? And how is the
Yeah.
transition? Just like because I know should be hard, just like from being
Right.
a veteran and then like, okay, so I'm starting a business. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not something you wake up one morning like, yeah, I think I'll do this. It's, if I were to look back my whole life, I can look back at times in my life when I was like 8 years old, and I would I would be thinking, gosh, I kind of want some money. So I remember getting some of my toys I didn't play with anymore, and I would like get a cardboard box and put my toys on top and say, I'm having a garage sale. And my friends would come over and some would buy, some of my toys. And then my mom would come out and yell at me, hey, you can't sell those toys. So, and then then I came up, I remember this game I came up with. I put like a small piece of paper and I
mhm.
taped it on the wall. And I marked off like, I don't know, 15 feet from that paper, and I had a tennis ball. I said, all right, pay me $1 and you can throw it 3 times. If you hit it once, you can have a comic book. So people would come up and they try to hit. No one ever hit it. And I'm making this money just from this, silly game that I made up. So, just back then, I enjoyed making money, finding ways, creating ways to make money. And it wasn't about the money. It was really, at that time it was, right. That was the
Yeah.
inspiration or the motivation. But at the time I felt that way. But looking back, and even now looking at my life now, it's more like I enjoy creating things that people want, so that way they will pay money for it, right. And we can make a profit, and then part of that, part B, is like providing an opportunity to create jobs and create opportunities for the team members. So kind of going way far away from your question here, so I'll get back to the
No
question.
worries.
So I went through life, we talk a lot about self-limitations and things like that, and my family was always military. And so that was kind of like the family business, right? You join the military. So in high school, I didn't want to. I wanted to be a business owner, and I wanted to have a business in personal training and fitness, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to talk to. So I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll just join the military. So I did that. Um, and I went back and forth in between active duty and reserves, deployed 5 times. And in the meantime, I was also a police officer in 2 cities and finished up in San Diego. But it was interesting. I was just in San Diego and I was talking to my friends, and I said, you know what? It's funny. I haven't told anyone this, but Linda, my wife, that the day before the police academy in San Diego, I was extremely depressed because I did not want to be a cop again. I did not want to go to the police academy again. I wanted to start a business. And
Oh,
I was like, I remember it was 9 o'clock at night. I was driving to the grocery store to go to the ATM machine because I had to get money out to buy my uniform. And I had to be up by like 3:30 the next morning. I mean, it was really late for an early morning. And I was driving and I was just like almost to the point of tears because I'm like, what am I doing? I don't want to do this, you know? And I wanted my own business. I thought, man, maybe I'll buy a lawnmower and I got a truck. I'll just go around mow lawns like I did when I was a kid. But then I'm like, well, I'm married. I can't do that. You know, I haven't told my wife this, so maybe she'll get mad at me because she wants me to have a job, a real job, and not mowing lawns. So, you know, I ended up going with the police department for a while, and I enjoyed it. I learned a lot of things, but it was always in me. And
Yeah.
so finally, you know, things happen in life where I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to quit everything I'm doing, and I'm going to jump into this entrepreneur life. And it's been almost 3 years now, and it's been amazing.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I think it's just being a business owner was like always in you, and that's the most important part. Just like
Yeah.
that was your goal, and you're
Yep.
just like doing all this stuff. But as you said,
Yeah.
just as a kid, you were just like on your mind was, I want to have a business.
Yeah.
I want to
Exactly.
make some money. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think just like starting a business and everything, like you must face some challenges that were like, wow, this was hard. And I
Yeah.
didn't think that I would get through this, and I did it. So like, could you talk a little bit about those challenges that you faced?
Yeah. There's always something hard going on. And I think the only thing that changes is the person and being able to handle it differently. Like, okay, well, I've seen this before, so I don't have to stress about it that much. But you know, just especially when you're starting off initially, you're not going to make a whole lot of money where you're going to be able to support yourself and your family. So, you know, when we first started, I had a good paying job. And we decided I'm going to quit that job, sell my house, sell our furniture, everything. And we actually sold our cars too. Um, and flew across the country to start a business. And so the story is we closed on our house, we got into our cars, we drove to a car dealership. They weren't expecting us. And we said, we're here to sell our cars because we have to catch a flight tomorrow morning. It was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And we had all our luggage in the car dealership. My kids were there. They were playing on their devices and arguing because we had to go to the hotel and wake up early the next morning, catch the flight to Washington because we started a business and we were there to run the business. And we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment and we're living off savings for a while. So it's just, I would say the biggest challenge was at that time was, all right, am I going to be able to make enough to support my family? Am I going to have to do other things? Am I going to have to get another job? Am I going to have to drive Uber? All those options were on the table. But we were just fortunate enough that business kept coming. And eventually we were able to not live on savings anymore and actually collect a paycheck from our job. So that was the initial thing. But as time goes on, like, you don't know everything as an entrepreneur. You can have a business degree. I've got a master's degree in business leadership, but that doesn't make me a leader. That just means I've read a few textbooks, you know, and I passed a few exams and I wrote a couple, you know, papers on it. But, you know, it's only theory unless you put it to practice. So it's something's always going to pop up, and something that is always there that's going to stress you out. But I think what gives me the peace of mind is that talking to other entrepreneurs, they're all experiencing the same thing, and it's just part of the journey.
Okay. Yeah. That's just a long journey. I would
It's
say
a
it's
very
just
long
like
journey. Yeah.
a hard journey. So yeah, right now that you mentioned just like seeing other entrepreneurs, like I know you have a good network of people there. So it's
Yeah.
just I wanted to ask you like what resources helped you like through this way, through the way, because I know
Yeah.
like you could say family books, but just wanted to see like what kept you motivated, because that was tough. So
Yeah.
like what things were like, okay, so I'm going to continue doing this because
Yeah.
this things that I'm doing right now, and what
Yeah.
resources help you on that way.
Yeah. So it's always easy to just, you know, there's been maybe just 1 or 2 times during the whole couple of years where I'm like, I'm just going to go look for a job.
Yeah.
This is too much for me, you know. But that lasted for like 30 minutes, and then I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to entertain it. I got to fight through this. So one is just, just being in touch with my desire. We all have desires and dreams, and I believe they're in us because it's supposed to direct us to what we're supposed to be doing in life, and it's not there to frustrate us. So if I got this desire to have a business, I got to go after it. So I need it. That's my responsibility and my obligation. What helps me through it are a few things. One, I think my faith helps me out quite a bit. I believe God puts those desires and passions and passions in us because He wants us to do certain things in life. Some people like numbers, and we need accountants out there, and some people like social media. We need people to do the marketing. Like, we all have our gifts that
Yeah.
I believe God gave us, and I believe God gave me the gift of running a business and a strong desire to be a great leader. And so that keeps me going, because if I feel like if I'm not doing those things, I'm ignoring the things that God gave me responsibility for. So that keeps me going. As you know, I do read a lot. So I read every morning, and I usually read a book that kind of helps me out. Like, if I'm going through something, I'm like, I haven't been talking good to myself lately. I've been having a lot of negative thoughts. So maybe I will read this book that will help me get out of that funk. So I'll do things like that. But I would say the biggest thing is, I am a part of a network with Steve Rosenberg, and his network, and then I've been able to meet a lot of other people in Houston. And Pete Newbig, we had on the show. That guy's amazing. Like, every time I hang out at his house, it's like another business class, and I learn a lot from him. I meet with Steve a lot. Steve teaches me quite a bit, and I go to masterminds. Um, and I'm just not going there to just participate and say, "Oh yeah, I go to a mastermind." It's the accountability piece, and it's doing your homework, and then implementing these things into your business to make it better. So those are the things that really help me get out of uh, the stress of it all, right?
Yeah.
And just knowing that everything it's part of the journey. It's not easy.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's not easy, but well, thank you for sharing that. I think just like a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners can relate to that.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
story just sometimes it's hard to just have to keep motivating yourself, and like,
Right.
for example, you find that sometimes that motivation from the books, from the podcast, also from your network, that just it's amazing, and
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
amazing how business owners help other business owners on that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, is just wanted to see, like, for example, we all have some regrets. So do you have any regrets on how you started the company, on how you started your life as a business owner, or as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur?
I would say, yeah, I've been asked this question before, and I would say I don't think I have any regrets. I mean, obviously, there's always areas in all of our lives where we can look back and say, "No, probably I wish I would have done that a little bit different," right? Um, but that's part of the journey, because if you mess up, that that's a lesson learned, and you apply that to a different scenario later on in life. So my answer when I was asked this once before was like, I needed everything that happened in my life to make me who I am now, and to bring me where I'm at right now. All the mistakes I've made, all the stupid things that I've done, there's a lot of things where I've done like, oh man, I hope nobody saw that, or I hope nobody says anything that they saw that, right? Because I feel kind
Yeah.
of shameful of it. But you remember those things, and you're less likely to repeat that, right? And it changes your behavior. So I think everything that I've done in my life, and everything a part of this journey, um, I needed it to be where I'm at now. So I don't have any regrets.
Okay. Wow, that was a really good answer. Like, I'm glad I
Thanks.
made that question because I really like that one.
Thanks.
So, right now you're mentioning like you don't have any regrets in everything. So, what would you recommend just to a small business owner that is afraid just to make that change in their life? They're like, oh, I think I want to be a business owner. I think I want to be an entrepreneur, but I'm scared.
Yeah.
Like from the what you told us, that is amazing on how different it was from being a cop, from being
Yeah.
in the military world, and then being on the business world, and
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur. So yeah, I just wanted to see, like, do you have any advice on how to start as a business owner if you want to start like as an entrepreneur? So
Hmm, hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So it all starts with a desire, right? If you have the desire to do it, then you need to do it. If you don't have the desire, then if let's just say someone is let's just say a plumber, and it's just them and that's it, and they're happy, then
Yeah.
then just do that. That's great. That's what you do. But if it's a plumber who's like, I really love business and I want to hire my first employee, or I want to expand into other cities or whatever it might be, like you have to, like, you have that desire, you identify it, you start looking for opportunities, right? It's never going to be a good time, right? We were just talking about this just before the
Yeah.
podcast, right? There's never a good time. The best time to do it is now. Get it done, right? So desire, opportunity, and then you got to take action. If you take action on it, you're going to get some result. It may not be the best, but you take that as a lesson learned and you pivot so that way you can actually achieve what you're actually looking for, right? So you have the desire, look for the opportunity, take action, and you get the result and you reassess when you get that. So I would say for my advice is if you have that desire, you have to go after it. Because if you don't, we talk about regrets. If you don't, you're going to live your life and you're like, man, I wanted to do this, but I didn't. So, and that, just kind of going on the personal side, that's what happened to me because I was in a good paying job. It was comfortable. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to leave this because it's paying my bills. I got a house, and, but I started in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I want my own thing. I want my own thing. I want to do my own thing. And I just started getting these panic attacks, which was so strange to me. I thought it was a heart attack. People who had panic attacks can realize that or understand that. But um, went to the hospital. They thought it was a heart attack too, but then they're like, no, your heart looks good and this and that. Um, it took weeks to figure out that it was just a panic attack. And the reality is I'm not pursuing what I want. But during that time, I thought, oh gosh, something's wrong with my heart. I'm going to die soon. You know, you get all these like,
Yeah.
morbid thoughts. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I've been wanting to do my own business. I'm going to go to I'm going to talk to Linda, my wife, and we're going to talk about it. And then I'm going to go give my notice. Um, so that was like on a Monday morning. I went home. I told Linda, I said, hey, this is what happened. I had to go to the ER. And I didn't tell her about it when I went to the ER and stuff because I didn't want to make a big deal about it. I said, but this is what's going on. I said, I can't work here anymore and I have to start my own business. And she's like, yeah, no, go do it. I'm like, all right, cool. So on Friday, we had a meeting with my boss, his wife, and my wife. And we sat there and he's like, all right, tell me what's going on. I'm like, I said, I'll give you 6 months, but I have to leave. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I have to start my own business and I'm going to do it. So 6 months, I'm out of here. So, don't get to that point. What I'm saying is I got to that point, and because I thought my life was ending, I needed to make a decision of like, okay, if I have 20, 30, 40 more years, I need to do something right now so I don't regret not doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
completely. And I think you mentioned something important there, just having people that believed in you. You have Lindy there that she was
exactly.
supporting you. Like,
Right.
it would be a different story if she was like, yeah, you're not quitting your job, just stay there,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about in your interview
yeah.
is the limiting beliefs. And we all have them. But what we need to do is listen to what others are saying about us, listen to the encouragement they're giving us. And we have to listen to that. And we have to say, you know what, they're seeing something in me. And I'm talking poorly to myself right now. And I need to ignore my thoughts and listen to this other person because they believe in me. Right. And I feel that, like Tony, right? Tony Capillo.
Yeah.
Um, whenever I get a text or email from him, I get that encouragement from him. He sees me that I could be up here and I feel like I'm way down here. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to listen to Tony and I'm going to climb this mountain and I'm going to get to that point. Right. So yeah, we definitely need to listen to those people who are encouraging us in life.
Yeah, totally. And just like you mentioned something really important there, that it's also people that encourage you. So,
Yeah.
for example, your network, like I know
Hmm.
you have a network of people that they're $1 million billionaires, so
Yeah,
that
exactly.
they're really, really good. I know you went to this conference from Steve Rosenberg. Like,
Yep.
did you have any lesson from that? Like, did you learn something that you can say, like, wow, just being with people like me that is starting their business that wants to be a good leader? It's
Yeah.
just like pretty amazing. So,
Yeah, I would say I have quite a few takeaways from that weekend, and I got pages of notes. But we were able to listen to people like Dr. Elko, who is Nick Saban's mindset coach, and he's talked to several teams who won championships, and Weldon Long, who's got an amazing story. I love that guy. I've read both of his books after that event. But Steve brought in all these great speakers, and we were able to talk about certain things. And one thing what Weldon Long actually took the time to help me out with is identifying a self limitation. And he says, take that self limitation and attach memories to it. What caused that to you feeling that way about yourself, right? And he put us through this exercise like 10 minutes long. And then I was the brave one who raised their hand and said, hey, let's talk about mine, right? And so he helped me through that. And it was like freeing, it's like, okay, I, I'm I'm feeling this way because I've allowed that take real estate in my mind, and I have to like retrain my mind on other ways. So I've got some exercises that, I've learned from Weldon Long through his books and stuff. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, T.W. Mock spoke, and at the end, he had said, went to each one of us. There's only about 12, 15 of us in there. He went to each one of us and said, hey, tell me uh, what's your purpose? Why do you do what you do? And when he started on the other side of the room, like, crap, okay, I got like 5 minutes to figure out what my answer is. you know, you kind of know what your why is, but sometimes you really can't articulate it, right? So I, when he got over to me, before he got to me, I'm like, oh, I know what it is. And at that point, I felt confident in knowing I know what I'm supposed to be doing. My job, my role in life, my purpose is to create jobs and to provide opportunity. And I get excited about that because I look back at what we've been doing since we started the company and hiring our virtual team is that I am creating jobs and I'm creating opportunity for people on my team. I get excited about that, so that's, yeah. So anyway, those were a couple of my bigger takeaways from that 3-day mastermind.
wow, that was really good. Yeah, it was just like a really good weekend of
Yeah.
having a lot of business owners there.
Yeah.
And yeah, took a lot
Let,
from it.
let me ask you though. So you were there for a couple of days. Was there anything
Yeah.
that stuck out to you?
Well, I just remember just Weldon Long telling his
Yeah.
story and everything. And I remember that it was funny, like Dr. Alco. I think
Yeah.
he asked me for a drink or something. He was like, "Hey, do you have like those little drinks and everything?" So
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was. So I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was like so happy. I was like, "Let me look at the back just to see if we have something in that."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Wow, that guy is really really nice."
Yeah.
So I just remember that he was talking. I was like, wow, like his story was just like
Hmm.
deep,
Yeah.
really deep. So I
Yeah.
was just listening at him. I was like, wow, it's just amazing. He's so nice. He doesn't seem like he lived like all what he passed, like
Yeah. Uh-huh.
so
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, was that just being so humble
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
going through a tough life and being so humble.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just like that's for
Uh,
me. But
Yeah. That was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So going back to you, Chris, I don't want to be the one answering questions here. So yeah, you mentioned just creating jobs, pretty amazing. I know that like almost your 90% of their team is virtual. So
Yeah.
how's that? Just like how was just the first hiring the first virtual employee? I think it was your first employee also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like were you scared? How did you
Hmm.
approach that
Yeah.
interviews? Like how did it get?
Yeah. So technically my wife is our first employee, but she's more of the supportive spouse that collects she doesn't get paid for what the amount of work she does, but she's just a supportive spouse. But that doesn't count, right? So yeah, I knew about the virtual assistant type work environment from Steve because he told me about it. He got me in touch with Daniela, his assistant. So I was talking to her about like, I'd like to hire somebody because we are getting busy and it's too much for me to handle. And um, I don't know what I kind of don't know what to do here. So what we identified was like, okay, figure out what I don't want to do anymore and hire someone with those skills that have those skills that I lack, right? And for me, it was I don't like finance, I don't like numbers and stuff like that. I mean, I respect it, but I don't like to do it. So I looked for someone with that accounting background, and I was able to interview several people. And there was one person that her resume was amazing. Her interview was great. And what I loved about her interview is that she told me in the interview, "Hey, I looked you up on LinkedIn and I read one of your articles, and I love this particular article." I'm like, "Oh, okay." She prepares, she researches, right? So it was like, okay, fears aside, she's my number one pick. But there's still that fear of like, okay, am I making enough money to pay her? Do I have enough work for her to do? So what we initially did was we brought her on part-time. And then as the part-time work started, like, okay, well, I've got a lot more work and she can go full-time. So let's make her full-time and I'll give her more work. So yeah, there's a lot of fear behind that that I've learned a lot since then. And I'm more comfortable hiring a virtual team member than I am a local team member.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot to say. So, why? Why do you think you feel more comfortable just hiring somewhere virtual that you're not seeing them, for example, in an office, that hiring somewhere local?
Yeah. I would say, gosh, I don't know. I mean, it's different in that, obviously the cost of living up here is different. Is a lot more, right? So you have to take that expense into consideration. Um, and then it's sometimes the mentality is different. There's a sense of entitlement sometimes, not all the time, where they, oh well, I don't have to have this job. I can go somewhere else and get another job type thing. It just the gratitude isn't there to seem sometimes, and I could be completely off. It's just been my experience, over that
Yeah.
with some of the people I've hired over the last few years locally, not just here, but in a prior job as well. Um, but what I've decided is if it's a position where somebody doesn't need to be boots on the ground, local with their eyes on the project, then it's going to be a virtual position. And so that's what I've decided. And we've kind of right now we only have yeah, we don't have any employees locally. It's just all virtual at the moment. We have a few 1099 people that are local that help us out. Oh no, I take that back. I get two employees. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I feel more comfortable hiring in the virtual world, and I think it's maybe because I get excited about that. I feel like we have a couple of moms on the team who quit their jobs to be a mom, but they have these skills and they want to work. And I love when I can hire someone who really wants to work and we have this great relationship and, flexibility so that they can still be a mom, but they still provide us great work. So I love that part of it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And as you said, you're creating jobs for moms that maybe they stop working because of
Mhm.
their kids taking care of them. So virtual home office is just like the
Yeah.
best option.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty amazing, like the long journey and just having almost all your company being virtual, and
Yeah. Yeah.
also the clients liking that company. It's pretty amazing. So is I wanted to ask you, like, what are your business goals right now? Like, where do you see the company in 5 years? Where do you see
Mm,
yourself? Where do you see your
yeah.
team? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I would say. So we just moved into our second city. It's in which is in a separate state. So we operate in Washington right now. We have operations going on in there. So we have our virtual team supporting that. And I have a local presence there as well. And we're going to take that and duplicate that here in Houston. So, and we're just started Houston, and I can already see that it's going to be successful. I have no doubt. We just use the same systems we have in Washington. But my goal is to take that and copy and paste it into other areas, into other markets, and grow the business that way, because I feel like we do things differently. We communicate well. We have an investor mindset. We have a property management perspective. And we have really good accounting processes. So that way, like at the end of the year for tax purposes, the investors can rely on us providing them accurate and good information for their taxes. So I really feel like, my goals would be to expand to other cities. In 5 years, maybe we're in 4 cities. In 10 years, I'd like to be in at least 5 states. And, any job that isn't required to be local is going to be virtual, because I really enjoy that virtual environment. It's interesting, kind of like off this topic. I was getting my master's degree, and my master's degree is in global leadership. It's a business degree, and my first class was leadership, and it was a class on how do you lead in a virtual world with team members from multiple cultures. And I remember going through that, and I'm like, this is stupid. When am I going to use this?
Yeah.
And that really sticks out to me, because I remember having to write this paper on it, and I'm like, man, this is dumb. But here I am, right? I don't know, 8 years later, I've got a virtual team and multicultural. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, wow, it's just funny how life changes, and
Yeah.
but it helped you. Wow,
Hmm.
that's pretty amazing. And yeah, as you said, it's just been a long journey, almost I
Yeah.
think 3 years in Houston, Washington. So yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully 5 states in 10 years, or less, maybe in 5 years to five
Yeah.
states. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah. So could you share with me your morning routine? I know that your morning routine is just like a
Hmm.
special, and I really like it.
Yeah.
I would like everyone to do the same as Chris is doing, because I think it will help everyone. So yeah, could you explain a little bit?
Yeah. So obviously I wake up, first thing I do, brush my teeth, wash my face. Um, and then I go get my coffee, and it's funny. I get the same routine, right? I turn the coffee on, and then I go get my water. The reason why I do it in that order is because I'm doing two things at once. I'm pouring my coffee and getting my water at the same time, right? By the time my water's done, my coffee's done. So I can walk into my office to do my morning routine. If I switch that, then it would take me double the time. So anyway, I get into my office. I sit down, kind of, still my eyes are just still adjusting to the morning,
Yeah.
you know. Every now and then I'll just jump on Facebook real quick to see, like, okay, anything where someone mentioned my name and I respond or not. More times than not, it's nothing. Same thing with Instagram. I don't know Instagram all that well, so but I still look at it. And then LinkedIn real quick, and that's a couple minutes. And then I read. I read at least, like now my goal is to at least 10 pages a day, but I do a lot more than that. So I'll read for about 20, 30 minutes. I'll read a chapter in the Bible, and then I'll journal. So when I journal, I start off with, like, I always wake up with a song in my head, whatever song it is. So I write, this song is in my head. This is the book I'm reading, and this is what I read in the Bible today. This, book, verse, or chapter. And then I just go like, okay, what's on my mind? I just start typing. Sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long. Um, and then always there's a part of it where there's gratitude. There's a part of it, like, even when I'm going through a challenge, I'm grateful for the challenge, because I know at the other end it's going to be great. And then after a journal, I write my I am statements. So that's something I learned at the mastermind as well with Steve, was the importance of I am statements. And that helps. You've got your subconscious mind and your conscious mind, right? So your subconscious mind is the mind that you just, like, habitual. You just do things and you don't think about it. Conscious mind is like, your focus right now, like the words I'm saying, that's my conscious mind. So you use your conscious mind to change your subconscious mind through purposeful daily rituals to turn them into habits, whether it be what you do or what you say to yourself. So what I do, I'm pretty good at. What I say to myself is where I struggle. So that's where the I am statement's coming in. I am, an owner and CEO of a $10 million company, right? I say things like that where like, okay, I am this person. I may not have, the revenue of $10 million, but I'm the CEO of a company that can be $10 million. So yeah, so that's my morning routine. After I do that, I kind of get into work. Sometimes I'll go work out. But yeah, that's kind of what I do every single morning. If I don't do it in the morning, it's not going to happen. So it has to be done in the morning.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Thank you for sharing your
Mhm.
morning routine. I think that's something that we all have to implement, just like
Mhm.
affirmations there, the I
Yeah.
am statement. So that's pretty good. And
Yeah.
I'm I'm just sorry that we're getting to the end of this episode. So I think we will need to do it a part two because I still
Okay.
have more questions that I wanted to ask you. But
Okay.
like right now, what's one question you wish I would ask you, and how would you have responded to that question?
I would so I would say like what would in my mind what's the biggest thing on my mind is always it's always leadership. Right? What's the most important thing in business in my opinion or in life? It's leadership and the importance of it and the importance of developing yourself as a leader. We talked about this at our last team training. And I said, you don't have to be the boss. You don't have to have subordinates. You could be, this is your first day on the job, or you could be responsible of just your one task. You're still a leader. You can lead up the chain of command too. There's ways of doing that. I mean, I tell you that a lot too, right? Say, hey, Fernando, I'm
Yeah.
following your lead. You got this, right? So, yeah, I would say the question would be, what's in my opinion, what is the most important thing in business? In my opinion, it is leadership and developing yourself as a leader. And not just that, but you're only a leader if you're developing other leaders under you. So that's important.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty good. Yeah, as you said, it's just everyone can be a leader where you
Yeah.
are. So
Yeah.
yeah, you just have to push yourself and
Hmm.
inspire others. And you
Exactly.
surely inspire others, Chris. You inspire me. So
Thanks.
yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So we just get to the general question that,
Yeah.
we always ask. So
Hmm.
for you, it would be, I know you read a lot of books.
Yeah.
So I want you to let us know like which book is the best book that you've ever read. Like this is the one that changed your life or
That changed my life. Can I say two? There's actually two that are pretty important.
yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to say no, just one. Um, So, when you talk to a lot of investors, the book that they all mention is Rich Dad Poor Dad, and but they say it for a reason because it's a very good book. I was deployed on the USS Carl Vinson. I was off the coast of Pakistan, and I was in my room with my roommate. And I was like telling him, like, man, I don't want to be deployed anymore. I want to start my own business. I want to do this and that. He goes, yeah, what do you think about rental properties and whatever? So he said, you should read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm like, I heard about it, but I never really thought of it. And he goes, I'll try to find you a copy. So we tried finding one. We didn't find one on the ship. But in like a week later, we pulled into port in Dubai. And the first thing I did was go, you familiar with Dubai?
Not that much,
Okay, so
sorry.
Dubai is like this country in the United Arab Emirates. It's a city in the United Arab Emirates, and I don't know, it's probably the richest city in the world. I don't know. It's amazing. They have this amazing mall in there with this huge aquarium, and they have it, and it's super hot out there, right? It's the Middle East, so they have this indoor snow skiing thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you have to look it up. But so I went to that mall because I wanted to see the aquarium. I wanted to see the snow ski thing, and but the first thing I did is I went to go find a bookstore. And I went in there and I bought my copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad. And we were there for a couple of days, and we got back on the ship, went underway again, and then I read it like really quick. And I was like, man, I love this stuff. Like, this is what I'm going to do, right? And I was so hungry. I had a few more months left of my deployment. I was so hungry. I was like, what else can I read? Like, I can't download podcasts or anything right now because I'm on a ship in the middle of nowhere. So I'm like, I guess I'll just read the book again. So I read it again, right? And that really transformed my mind of like, taking action and looking for opportunities. And that's when I started listening to podcasts after that. And the second book I read was more for like help me understand and appreciate the journey of life, because you're not going to get your desires right away. There's a journey to it, right?
Yeah.
And the book that really helped me out with that was The Alchemist. I had one of my professors from University of San Diego with my master's degree. His name is Bob Schultz, retired Navy captain. He was a Navy SEAL, and he was on a podcast. And then I reached out to him over email. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of going through this transition piece. I don't know what's going on. And he says, you need to read The Alchemist. So I read that book. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So that was the book that at Christmas time I would buy several copies and give it to people and say, you need to read this, especially if you're going through something. So those are the two books that really had a big, huge influence in what I do and who I am.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So yeah, everyone listening here, you need to read those books if you want to
Exactly.
start. Oh, okay. Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sad that this is we're ending the episode here, but
Yeah. No
just
worries.
thank you for being here, Chris. It was amazing having you as a guest because
Thanks.
you're also the host here. So yeah, it's pretty cool to know your story too. So
Yeah. Thanks.
yeah, just thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. So
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
also everyone listening here, I know they have something to get from this podcast. So just
Thanks.
final question here is
Yeah.
how would they contact you? Like for example, a business owner or a virtual assistant that wants some advice, or maybe not, maybe just a person going through something like how can they contact you?
Uh, Social media is always good. I would say probably um, if you go to Instagram, might be a quicker response because Fernanda and I both see that.
Yeah.
Or you could send me an email to I guess maybe we'll put that in the comments or something, but you could send me an email. And that's something that Fernanda and I also see. She reads my emails for me at the moment, until Isamar comes back. But yeah, Fernanda's helped me out with my emails, and so yeah, I would say those are two places: email or social media. Chris Ty 5 is my Instagram thing, and Elevation Construction Team is our company Instagram.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So yeah, go to social media, follow Chris, and yeah, you're going to get some really good book quotes and some
Yeah,
good
exactly.
leadership tips there. So yeah,
Absolutely.
just go and follow. Thank you.
Absolutely. Cool. Thanks, Fernanda.
Hey everyone, Steve Rosenberg. We're here in Florida with palm trees, beaches, sunshine. You do not want to miss my Business Mansion Mastermind, October 12th through the 14th in Houston, Texas. I'm going to show you how to take your business to the next level, and I'm bringing in some of the top people in the business world. I'm talking Brad Lee, the Iron Cowboy, Dr. Kevin Elko, and Errol Allen, all to help you reshape your business and your mindset in 3 days, followed by unlimited coaching after that. Go to bizmansion.com and I'll see you in Houston.